It's great. It's always an honor to be on with Michael Chertoff, one of the great minds in terms of cybersecurity. But I think what we explored in the panel was not only the nature of the threat, which is coming from a variety of actors, from individual hacktivists all the way up to sophisticated state actors, but also talking about what can be done in response and some new models to think about public-private interaction to actually build reasonable and sustainable defenses against threats that are only going to grow more complicated and are going to persist over time. And so I think the panel was successful, at least in that regard. Well, I think things are improving by necessity. I think the reality of the scale and scope of the attacks that we've seen in the retail sector with Target, against banks like JP Morgan, and just in general, the overarching threat environment really has brought to the fore the necessity for government actors and the private sector to work more closely together, and at a minimum to share more information. And so where you've seen the most progress has been on thinking about models for how information can be shared, how threats can be understood, and potentially how the private and public sectors can react and respond together. I do think, though, that we're at a major point of deficit. We are struggling to find a new model and a new way to actually defend our system sustainably, credibly over time, in what is in essence a cyber arms race where the bad guys and the nefarious actors are winning. The barriers to entry are low. The nefarious players at play are many. And the reality is that you can try to defend systems to the tune of billions of dollars, and you're never going to be 100% secure. And so it takes an enterprise-wide cybersecurity framework to include public-private interaction and coordination to actually provide the kind of cybersecurity we expect in our economy and in our government. Well, I think a major challenge for us and potentially a threat moving forward is the systemic risk of a collapse of a national system that is critical to our economy and to our survival. And I think the more that we have the interconnectivity, the Internet of Things, exposing in an open environment systems that matter, the financial system, the water system, the electrical grid, critical infrastructure that actually is open to potential vulnerabilities, we may find ourselves in a situation where sophisticated state actors, non-state actors, even individuals are able to hold those vulnerabilities over our heads as a sword of Damocles and threaten our very survival. And I think that's really the maximalist danger point here for the country if we don't get our act together in advance. I don't think we should wait for a cyber Pearl Harbor. We have to anticipate that the threats are going to grow more diverse and more complicated and more persistent. And we have to come up with a new model that actually allows us to deal with the crisis before it comes, as opposed to waiting for the cascading systemic collapse that could come in the wake of a cyber attack.